Teresa Giudice walked into BravoCon 2025 with the kind of quiet confidence that instantly shifts a room. Fans felt it before she even sat down. An energy, a glow, a peace that didn't belong to the Teresa who once lived in constant chaos. And as soon as she took her seat on the Housewife to Housewife, a new lease on wife panel, the entire audience sensed something was coming. Something raw. Something honest. Something she had never fully admitted before. But before we dive deeper into the revelations she dropped, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, because what Teresa shared next shocked everyone in the room. She began speaking about her marriage to Luis "Louie" Ruelas with a certainty fans hadn't heard from her before. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't guarded. It was wholehearted. Teresa explained that her second marriage feels different, more grown, more intentional, more aligned with who she is now. She said, "I feel like second marriages go all the way, just because you know exactly what you want." There was no hesitation in her voice. She reminded the crowd that she met Louis at 48, at a stage in her life where she had lived through heartbreak, disappointment, and decades of trying to force a marriage to work, simply because it had history. Then she took a breath, looked out into the audience, and started talking about Joe Giudice. The shift in her voice was unmistakable. "Joe, I grew up with my whole life," she said softly. "He was always safe. He was always there, anytime I wanted to call him." There was nostalgia there, but also a haunting truth. Teresa admitted something that many suspected, but she had never said out loud. "So I just thought he'd make a good husband, a good dad. But I don't know if it was, like, that passionate love." The room went silent. Not because people were judging her, but because they knew how difficult it must have been to finally acknowledge it. While Teresa was opening up emotionally on stage, Louis was creating his own moment online. During BravoCon weekend, he posted a photo of the two of them posing together, writing a caption that read like a love letter. "You are fearless. You are loving. You are beautiful inside and out. And I adore you. End of story." Fans immediately reacted, calling it one of Louis' most vulnerable posts to date. But he didn't stop there. Louis shared a reel filled with clips from BravoCon. Teresa meeting fans, smiling, taking photos, lighting up every room she entered. "This weekend at BravoCon 2025 was a blast. The energy was electric," he wrote. And then he added a line that made fans' hearts melt. "Teresa lit up every room she walked in. Seeing her get swarmed with love by all her fans was the coolest thing ever." But the real shock of the weekend came when Teresa and Louis unexpectedly reunited with her brother, Joe Gorga. Yes, the same Joe Gorga with whom she has shared years of painful public feuding. The same Joe she has cried about, yelled at, lost, and tried to rebuild with. And in a moment that no one, not even Bravo insiders, could have predicted, Teresa ran into Joe's arms for a massive emotional hug. Louis stood beside them, smiling. Joe relaxed into the hug as if years of tension suddenly loosened. It was a moment that froze BravoCon, a moment that immediately went viral, a moment fans have been waiting for far longer than Teresa and Joe probably realized. Why did it happen now? Why at BravoCon? Why at the exact moment when Teresa was being more open, more vulnerable, and more reflective about her life than she has been in years? It didn't feel accidental. It felt like a shift, one that could change everything, from Teresa's relationships to the direction of the next season of Real Housewives of New Jersey. As BravoCon continued, the energy around Teresa only grew stronger. Fans were buzzing, not just because of the surprise reunion with Joe Gorga, but because Teresa herself seemed transformed, lighter, calmer, almost liberated from years of emotional weight. It wasn't the Teresa who carried a decade of hurt on her shoulders. It was a woman ready to move forward, no matter what the past had held. And yet, behind that smile and inner peace, there was something else brewing beneath the surface. Something that even she didn't expect to face during the most important weekend of her year. Backstage, as Teresa wrapped up another panel filled with fan questions and cheers, insiders noticed Louis watching her with a careful intensity. Not jealousy, not insecurity, but something more protective. The kind of look a man gives when he knows his partner is stepping into a brighter chapter, and he wants to make sure no shadow touches it. What viewers didn't see on camera was Louis taking Teresa aside and telling her that this weekend wasn't just a celebration, it was a turning point. He told her how proud he was, how grateful he felt to be beside her, how he wanted to keep building a life that wasn't defined by chaos or rumors or old wounds. But while Louis was reaffirming their bond, fans kept circling back to the same question. What did the hug with Joe Gorga really mean? Was it a one-time moment? Was it for the cameras? Was it genuine forgiveness after years of fractures? According to people close to BravoCon staff, the hug wasn't staged. It wasn't planned. It was emotional instinct. Two siblings who had been through too much finally letting their guard down, if only for a moment. And Teresa later admitted to someone off mic that the hug felt like a piece of my heart finally unlocked. Still, not everything was as simple as it looked. Because the truth is, reunions don't magically erase years of misunderstandings. They don't erase tabloids or accusations or the heavy history between Louis and Joe. But what that hug did do was open a door, one Teresa never thought would open again. And that door, whether wide or barely cracked, meant that healing wasn't impossible. Fans watched closely as Teresa, Louis, and Joe ended up crossing paths multiple times throughout the weekend, each encounter softer than the last. No raised voices, no tension, no cameras catching awkward avoidance. Just small, surprising moments of normalcy. As her final BravoCon appearance approached, Teresa stood backstage adjusting her hair, taking a breath, and glancing at Louis, who gave her a reassuring smile. She walked onto the stage to thunderous applause, and for the first time, instead of being overwhelmed, she embraced it like someone who finally understood her own worth. She talked about love, resilience, growth, and owning the chapters that once broke her. She spoke about Louis with more clarity and gratitude than she ever had before. And when a fan asked her what the secret to her happiness was, Teresa answered with a simplicity that stunned the room. Letting go of what hurt me, and letting in the people who love me. When BravoCon came to an end and the cameras finally shut off, Teresa quietly grabbed Louis' hand. They didn't need to perform anymore. They didn't need to prove anything. They had walked through the most public, emotional, unpredictable weekend of their year, and walked out stronger than they walked in. And though Teresa wasn't ready to say it out loud just yet, she knew that this weekend had changed everything. The doubts, the headlines, the whispers, none of it mattered anymore. Because she finally understood the difference between a love she settled for and a love she chose with her whole heart. The fans who watched her at BravoCon didn't just see Teresa Giudice, reality star. They saw a woman rebuilding in real time. A woman who faced the ghosts of her past, embraced the love of her present, and dared to walk into a future she once thought she didn't deserve. And as she and Louis left the venue for the last time that weekend, her fingers intertwined with his, it was clear. Their second chance wasn't just working. It was becoming the strongest part of her story. And whether the reunion with Joe becomes a new beginning or just a fragile moment of peace, one thing is certain. Teresa Giudice is finally living the life she always dreamed of, with a heart open wider than ever before.